I think we're all looking for that quick fix. Something we can do in a short amount of time to make a big difference. Of course, dealing with weight loss, we get that question all the time. Well, believe it or not, there is a quick fix that does have short-term but immediate results. Talking about exercise and appetite suppressant today on the Personal Edge Fitness Podcast.
Welcome to the Personal Edge Fitness Podcast with Garrett Williamson. Health, wellness, exercise, nutrition, and a whole lot more. Got questions? Call us and leave a message at 251-278-EDGE or message us at Personal Edge Fitness on Facebook and Instagram, at Team PE on Twitter, or personaledgefitness.com.
Good day and welcome to the Personal Edge Fitness Podcast. I'm your host, Garrett Williamson, president of Personal Edge Fitness. Thank you so much for tuning in today. And if you're happen to be watching this on social media, welcome to Downtown Dog River. That's where we're doing the podcast today. I would like to work this setting into the podcast. I'll talk about that in a bit, but the bottom line is I just kind of wanted to do one out there. The scene is great. The background is great. It's wonderful weather out here. Why not? If you have any questions about this podcast or any others, or have a question about some of the myths of health, fitness, and wellness, which is what we base the podcast on, and including especially this topic today, you're welcome to contact us at Garrett, Garrett, at personaledgefitness.com. You can call us at 251-278-3343. I hopefully will give that number a few times in the podcast. Again, that's 251-278-3343 or 278-EDGE, E-D-G-E. You can also reach out to us on our Facebook page, which is Personal Edge Fitness. That's also our website, personaledgefitness.com. Now, why am I talking about this subject today? And actually, I brought up dispelling myths at the very beginning of this. And if you see the title of the podcast, you know it's dispelling myths of health, fitness, and wellness. And it's the whole reason I came up with the idea of actually having the podcast. It's amazing the misinformation that's out there. You've heard me say that numerous times if you're a fan of the podcast. This podcast actually came about because of an article I read. I'm going to get to that in a few minutes, dealing with this particular topic. Now, I think you'll probably be surprised to hear me say in the teaser, in the opening, that I do have a quick fix. There is a quick fix. There's a quick action that causes immediate results, and that deals with the topic of exercise and appetite suppression. I wanted to cover that today. It's actually very simple, but this all stemmed from an article that I read. I'm going to get to it in a minute, but an article that I read that basically tried to make this entirely too confusing. And I think it was just wanting to sell an article, wanting to sell a paper. I mean, this is a headline that's going to grab a lot of attention. I read it, and it was just... it was inherently confusing, and again, I'll get to that in a minute. But I thought about, okay, well, I can sit here and berate this article, which I'll do a little bit of that at the end, obviously, and show you why and show you where it's actually wrong. But I did want to address this subject. I thought a positive way of go about this is that there's a lot of truth to exercise and appetite suppression, and I always like to let people know why. Why is that even a subject? Exercise and appetite suppression. And you've probably heard of it before, and so I wanted to go ahead and tell you about that. And then, of course, we will get into a little bit about that article and a little bit about how that article is written to confuse you and why it's written that way. And then I have a long-term solution. I have a long-term solution, especially concerning this topic, which deals with, which we will deal with, of course, weight loss, which is 72% of the people that come to us for weight loss. And it deals with that. I'll show you a way that you can actually keep yourself from ever falling for these ridiculous myths, these ridiculous lies, these things that you hear all the time. Hey, here's the latest, greatest, stop everything, start doing this, you need to eat this, you need to stop doing that, you need to exercise over here and do this new exercise that nobody's ever heard of. You've heard that all your life, and this program actually will teach you how to see through all that, how to understand the truth, and not fall for those things again. But let's get into the main topic, which is exercise and appetite suppressant. And I did say it was a quick fix. I did say there were some immediate results, and I'll show you the why. I'll show you what's going on here. Exercise, of course, it's synonymous with weight loss. I mean, I shouldn't say synonymous, but it's almost difficult to talk about. It's very difficult to talk about weight loss without, of course, talking about exercise. And the majority of the time that we discuss exercise, especially in the United States, with supposedly over only 35% of the people are obese. Most people don't get measured, so I'm sure the number is actually much higher than that. Then it's difficult to ever hear exercise discussed, and of course weight loss not come into play. I've told you before, weight loss is simple. It's calories in, calories out. boom, thank you so much for joining us today. Appreciate you listening in. Call us at area code 251-278-3343 if you have any questions. Yeah, that's weight loss, guys. That's my business right there. Calories in, calories out. Controlling calories in, controlling calories out is where weight control is. It's where weight loss exists. If you take in less calories than you expend, you're going to lose weight. If you take in more calories than you expend, you're going to gain weight. If you take in the same amount of calories that you expend, you're going to maintain weight, period. End of story. I don't care what anybody tells you, especially when they tell you, well, it depends on the food. Bull, you know what? It doesn't. It is a numbers game, first and foremost, and we should be concerned about numbers. But one of the best ways to maintain weight, of course, is to not take the excess calories in. I'll show you a technique, great technique, fantastic, works every time, no matter what ridiculous articles tell you, to actually make that happen in a very short term, but it can have long-lasting effects. Let me break this down. The appetite suppression, and basically you know what I'm talking about. If you're not hungry and or craving, now of course those are two different things, and I have a podcast about that. Contact us at 251-278-3343 if you'd like to know which that podcast is, because right off the top of my head I can't remember it. It's one of my earlier podcasts. In the live food I talk about this, and also I talk about it had its own podcast talking about telling the difference between a craving and a hunger. But you can actually suppress really both of those. You can actually suppress both of those. Not making you immune to it, but there's a way of suppressing them using exercise. And what it deals with two hormones. Two hormones. I'm going to give you some basic definitions of these hormones and tell you what they do, where they're located, where they're produced, how they're produced, and how exercise actually controls them. The two hormones are called Ghrelin and Leptin. Now, you may have heard of these, and pardon me for looking at my notes here from time to time, just because I want to make sure I tell you exactly what's going on here, and especially these definitions, and especially what these different hormones do. They're not ones that I talk about on a regular basis as far as full definitions. I understand what they do, but I don't want to misspeak and tell you something that if you Googled, well, it really doesn't come from that area, it comes from this area. That's why I want to make sure I've got everything correct here. But the ghrelin is actually produced in the stomach, and that's Ghrelin, ghrelin is the name of the hormone. And what ghrelin does is ghrelin actually is in the stomach. Ghrelin is produced, and it actually is part of your growth hormone. It is the hormone that tells your body, hey, eat. And also, because we need to get some calories in here, because we need to use those calories to expend energy. We need to use those calories, and we need to use that protein to actually build muscle. We need to grow, and it's part of your growth hormone. Now, most people, when they're thinking about this, if you're listening to this because you're interested in weight loss, you're going to think, well, I just want that thing never to work. No, that's not a good thing. That's not a good thing. You need that growth hormone in there. Certain diseases are associated with reduction of ghrelin, which is not good, like AIDS. You see cancer can affect it, and where people don't want to eat and they start to waste away and not able to fight the disease. So that's one of them is ghrelin. It's produced in the stomach, and we want to make sure that we've got a healthy amount of that. But at the same time, it'd be nice to be able to kind of control turning that thing on and off. Then the other one's leptin, and leptin is actually located in your fat cells. This is a hormone. They're called peptide hormones. Don't get too deep into that. But what this hormone does, it travels to your brain. It's that 15-minute lag that you hear about, telling your brain, hey, yo, listen, we're good. Stop. Not hungry anymore. Cut that out. So basically, it stops hunger. So you think about it, well, I would like to have that leptin produced and make sure I've got, good production of leptin. In fact, I want leptin all the time. Careful. Careful. Typically, like most with everything, too much of a good thing is a bad thing. And an overproduction of leptin, which happens in people that overeat, and obese people that their brain's sitting here, leptin's going up there, hey, quit. Yeah, I don't know, but just one more pie. I want one more hamburger, one more whatever. By the way, not mentioning foods, just mentioning foods that we typically overeat. There's nothing wrong with pie and or hamburgers. Had some on this table, which is, by the way, one of the reasons why I'm having this out there. I'm on my Thanksgiving dinner table right here, this is where we had Thanksgiving dinner. And I thought, well, fantastic place to talk about exercise suppressant. I didn't get back to that about why I'm here on downtown Dog River. So an overproduction of leptin, what happens is you keep telling the brain, it's like crying wolf. You keep sending leptin up there over and over and ignoring it. Your brain's going to say, you know what? We no longer need to pay attention to leptin. And so therefore you don't turn off that hunger signal. Leptin says, no, really, I'm telling you this time. We don't need it anymore. Yeah, you ignored us last time. We're ignoring you now. And you actually lose the effect of leptin. So too much of either one of those or cutting off ghrelin too much, increasing too much leptin, of course, we don't want those things. But we wouldn't mind having some control of that. And I'll show you what controls, and that's exercise. And what I'm talking about is about 30 minutes, a good walk, a good run, cycling, or lifting weights or something. Just some kind of 30 minutes or so of exercise. Doesn't take a whole heck of a lot. And what happens is exercise creates a fight or flight situation. I've talked about this when I've talked about stress. Stress is basically a reaction to fight or flight. And one of the things that it does is that it feels like you're putting it under stress. You're making it exercise. Your body thinks, hey, I've got a challenge here. I'm going to conserve energy in certain places that I don't need, and one of those places I don't need, it happens to be in the stomach, and therefore ghrelin production is temporarily cut off. And so that's how exercise actually shuts down ghrelin production. And then what are you doing when you exercise? Well, even if you're not breaking a sweat, you're using up energy. You're using fat cells. You're breaking down fat cells. What happens when you break down, start burning those fat cells? Well, the leptin is released. Leptin's released, goes to the brain, says, hey, whoa, hunger thing? Yeah, we thought we were going to go to lunch, but we really don't need to. So that's how exercise actually temporarily, it doesn't do it, and it can do it. A longer bounce can have a ghrelin and leptin effect that can last almost 24 hours. But I'm talking more about these short terms. I'm going to show you a neat way of using these. Typically, I like to go in the evening, but let's stretch to lunchtime. Let's say you go to lunch, and that may be one of the times that you tend to overeat. If you go to a buffet or what have you, you tend to have a tendency to overeat. Well, one way to handle that is to do a little bit of exercise prior to going to lunch. Do a little bit of exercise prior to going to lunch. You'll help retard that ghrelin and that leptin. You may still have lunch, but you'll control your amounts a little better. If not, many times we've had a lunch. Okay, that's good. I'm good. I'm done with lunch. That's fantastic. That's all I need. And then you want to go back and eat something extra. And at those times, and I'll talk about this in another podcast, or when your cravings really wake up and start, your sugar cravings really wake up. And that's why we have dessert typically at the end of a meal. And you're full and you're finished, but now you want something else. And if you listen to the Craving Hunger podcast, you'll find out that you're actually craving. You're not hungry. Well, you want to shut that off, get up from the table, go for a walk. Get up from the table, do some of your exercise. Don't go crazy. Like your mama said, don't go swimming until an hour after you've eaten. So we're not talking about anything intense. We're just talking about doing enough exercise to kick those, to affect those hormones. Now, the reason I say I like it in the evening is the fact that typically in the evening is when we're more tired, our energy level is gone, and our resistance to control is gone. We wake up, we wake up in the morning, our stomach has basically condensed a bit, and we feel like Superman. I'm going to have just a small little 120 calorie protein bar, and I'm good. By the end of the day, that those cravings catch up with us, those caloric needs catch up with us, and we have a tendency to overeat in the evening. And a lot of people will tell me that. My problem's in the evening. You can actually take that opportunity after you've had your meal, after you and your wife or you and your significant other, your family sat down. I like that. I made up a new word. Sat down and had a meal. Great time to get up and go for a walk. Great time to get it under control. You've been in these situations. I've been in these situations where, you know what, I had dinner. That's good. I'm not going overboard. I know I'm running my MyFitnessPal says I'm doing good as far as tracking my calories. I'd like to stop now, but I really want to stay and watch TV, or I want to read a book or something. I know I'm going to be hitting the refrigerator. Well, give yourself a little time to let that go away. Go for a walk. Go for a run. Ride a bike. Do some exercise. Get control of those hormones. And the reason I say that this can be long-term is the fact that, yes, it's a short-term fix, and it can have longer-lasting effects, but if you started doing this on a regular basis, you started making a lifestyle of going for a good walk around the building for 20 or 30 minutes before lunch, or going for a walk, or riding a bike, or doing something as a family of some kind of exercise right after eating, or even before dinner, to help get those things under control. You start making a lifestyle of that. Hey, look, you got your answer right there. You're starting to control your appetite, starting to control calories. Now, I want to break into this article a little bit, not go too deep into it, because actually I use the New York Times physical education page or wellness page. I like looking for articles there. There's a lot of them that I read about in medicine and science, medicine, exercise, and sport and science journals, but they kind of make it in the general public. When they come out, I'll have clients ask me about it, so of course I want to address these things and let you know the heads or tails of it, and some of it is extremely good. A lot of the articles you've heard me talk about, I have found on this page, so it's I like it. Kudos to them. But they've got to sell these things every day, especially on Tuesday when they come out this wellness page, and they've always got to have articles in there to fill. So they come out with, does exercise affect your appetite? I looked at that and said, yes, thank you. That's it. That's all we need to know on the article. Then they quote some studies that are being done by different universities. I don't want to get too deep into these studies because the intentions of the studies are actually good. What they have surmised here is misleading. It's very misleading because they're talking about they took some people and they took them of different sizes. Most of them were out of shape or inactive, and they're somewhere between 18 and 55, and they fed them breakfast, then they had them do exercise, then they had them come back, and they served them lunch. And they measured how much they were taking in, how much they weren't taking in, to see if there was a difference. And they found out, well, some people took in less calories, just like I was saying, Ghrelin and leptin. But some people ate more. Some people ate a lot more than they usually take in, or as much as they always eat. And so the study is inconclusive. That's not true. What they didn't tell you is they didn't take into account cravings whatsoever. And the foods that they listed that they set out for lunch, they left a buffet out of lasagna and rolls and what have you. There's no such thing as bad food. Don't take what I'm saying here. But what they had is they had obese people. They had overweight people. They had people that were inactive. And I'm telling you right now, those individuals had sugar addictions. This is nothing new. It's the most highly addictive chemical in the world. It does not make the food inherently bad. Addressing the fact of that it's addictive chemical and why we search that addiction is extremely important. We stay addicted is extremely important. So it's not the food itself. So these obese and overweight people were seeing something that they want to eat. You can put Ghrelin and leptin aside. You can put those aside. Cravings are going to kick in and people are going to overeat. This is what makes me so mad about this because they're saying, well, then that exercise doesn't affect appetite. Bull. It affects appetite. Appetite deals with hunger, does not deal with cravings. And so it does change that. That's why I wanted to bring that up. And that's kind of stuff that you read about and you hear about in these different articles. And well, I read somewhere that exercise doesn't really control appetite. Yeah, it does. When they mislead you is when they're trying to sell something to you most of the time. So anyway, again, I get quite a few good articles from that section. So I'm not throwing it all away. Just you got to know the difference. And I told you a minute ago, there's a way to find out the difference. I've talked to you several times about the making a lifestyle change and understanding the difference between good food and bad food. What does exercise do? How does it affect your body? How can you control weight? How can you actually maintain that lifestyle and not be fighting it day in and day out? No, understanding the difference. Understanding the truth, understanding why I say there's no such thing as bad food, understanding why you need exercise, why you can actually live a lot longer than you think you can with no reduced functions whatsoever. Well, that's what we teach in the lifestyle change program we call Catalyst. You've heard me talk about it before, but I'm telling you, if you really want to know the truth and you want to get this under control for life, contact us at 251-278-3343 for Catalyst. We can do it online. We can do it in person. We offer it at both our Eastern Shore location and our Mobile location. But if you're interested in knowing more about it, feel free to call me about that. So, if nothing else, make sure that you're not... Oh, I got my whole family out here coming to see me and announcing that they're home. So that is obviously the end of this podcast. But if you have any other questions about this and what I started to say a minute ago, if it seems like it's too good to be true, hello, Lucy. Hey, Lucy. If you want to check out Lucy's page, she has her own Facebook page. It's Where's Lucy Today? And she's right next to me during my podcast. And if you have any questions about whether or not something's a myth or the truth, contact us. Give me a call, or actually you can reach out to me at Garrett, Garrett, at personaledgefitness.com. That's our Facebook page, and of course our website. Exercise as an appetite suppressant. One more way we help you live your level of wellness.
Thanks for listening to the Personal Edge Fitness Podcast with Garrett Williamson. Subscribe now and be a part of the show by calling 251-278-EDGE or message us on Facebook and Instagram at Personal Edge Fitness or at Team PE on Twitter, and visit us at personaledgefitness.com.